Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. This is your host, Steve Ramona. I'm pretty fired up because in the green room before the show, she was saying all the magical words that if you're a business person, business owner, founder, startup, whatever, you need to listen to this show because Suman, did I say it right?
No, it's Suman.
Suman, I'm practicing. Suman is going to rock your world, and I'm excited to get my world rocked. Suman, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's get right into service. What does a servant leader look like to you?
So to me, a servant leader, I always think of it like that. Have you seen that sort of vision of what like a strong leader is someone who stands behind their team, right? They're there to support them. It's like the lion behind all the wolves, right? The pack, right? Your job is to pick the people up in your group, to be transparent, authenticity, to serve from this place, always serving from this place, right? Serving from this place within yourself, and also recognizing that your group, your team, the people in your organization are only going to be as good as the leaders there. So the leaders have to have the values and the beliefs. So the beliefs and the values have to be ingrained from that place, and it has to be carried through. So to me, a servant leader is someone who does things from their heart. They do the things that are right, even if it means losing money, if it means that you have to have humility in a situation. It's humility, it's empathy, it's compassion, it's kindness, it's seeing people as humans. So that's kind of what I would say.
Well said. You lived that. And do you think mentorship is important for a servant leadership?
Oh,
No.
yeah. I mean, for myself, I have been working with coaches and mentors and people for, 6+ years, so yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a leader, you have to give a lot of space. I had a client say one time to me, I said, oh, like, hiring is sort of like getting married. You have to marriage. He's like, yeah, but in a marriage, it's one relationship. He's like, when you're the president of a company, you have 200 people that you have to hold that space for. So having a mentor is so important because that person has been through probably at the next level or has been through a similar experience, and they can hold that space for you as you are moving through it.
Yeah,
So
a
yeah.
sounding board too.
Yeah,
That's the thing when
so
you're saying
important.
that somebody you can, outside the company that can give you a
Yeah,
different
because
perspective.
we're human, right?
Yeah.
So we are human, and there's always this duality, right? Like we have our soul and our, however you see
Hmm.
it. And then there's this human piece. And this human piece is, we have all these experiences we experience in our life, especially from our childhood, and those things influence us later on. And so having a mentor to have, I know for myself, having someone I can just talk to, like authentically express my emotions, express my frustrations in a safe space helps me move forward.
I like that. And the audience, the point she's making here is have a mentor. Don't
Oh
just
yeah.
pick one, but find one that
Yeah,
fits you.
invest in, and it's all an investment, right? When
Yeah.
we invest, like I know for myself, the more money I've invested in myself, in my own personal growth, in my abilities as a leader, as abilities to be a better mother, to be a better wife, to be all the things, right? That money has come back 10 times in my life.
And it's slow. It's not a fast burn like
Oh
people
no,
that
like
are
they
selling.
call it
Yeah.
pineapple season, right?
Yeah.
It takes 18 months to do the pineapple, so you have to plant the seeds, and it takes 18 months to see the fruition of it. But you have to keep
I'm gonna borrow that pineapple season.
actually I heard that from someone. There's another coach that I listened to, and she used it. It was such a great analogy. She said everything
Oh,
is like a pineapple, like pineapple season. It takes 18 months, right? With a pineapple, you put the seeds, you can't see it, and then you keep watering it and growing it, and then you get a pineapple. But it takes a long time. It's a very slow process. But the process itself is what's important.
yeah, that's so good. Well, audience, there's your first tip. Take it and run with it. I like that. You mentioned something before we started the show in the green room about value-based business. Explain that and how you do that with your business.
So for me, I really see myself or see our company as providing such a high level service, right? Because we believe in providing high quality matches of candidates, right? So we're a recruiting company, and the traditional recruiting business model has always been more contingent based. And just to give you an idea of what that model looks like, it's a 20 to 25% first year, like salary of the first year, right? You don't pay anything up front, and then there's a 6-month guarantee. But there's a lack of integrity of it because, again, you're very attached to that candidate, right? Because you only make money on that candidate. So if there could be a little bit of a lack of integrity there. And also it's very cost prohibitive for small businesses. I mean, if you're a small business and you need to make 5 hires and you're going to be spending $20,000 a hire, that's a lot of money. And there's a lot of risk associated with that. And so if you're not using external recruiters or you're not having a big HR group, how do you go and attract those people? So for me, the types of companies that are really value based are these smaller growing companies that care. They care about their people. They create value, not just putting a snack room or throwing, a value, these are our core values on a wall. No, they live them.
Yeah.
They live them in the way that they give back to the community. Multiple clients I work with give back to charities and community service. It's a huge piece of them, right? They're very involved in their church and their that piece. And that's an important piece. They're very connected to that sort of kind of deeper place. And they see people as humans versus just like a robotic transaction, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And talk has to come with action. A lot of business out there with their employees too, because you bring value to your business, your employees. I don't know if you have any, but your employees have more value then, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you are a company and you have your values, right? You have what your core values are as a company. The most important thing is to really define what behaviors are going to create those values, right? And being able to teaching your team, teaching your employees, teaching the people at your company how to make sure those behaviors are followed. But those behaviors can only be followed if the leadership follows it.
Yeah. And it's great. Leading into that is, okay, your value-based business, you're serving clients, employees. You talked about spilling over into your personal life, because I don't think there's a work-life balance. I mean, it's hard to balance it.
Right.
But as one of my guests, a good friend of mine, Morris, said, there are seasons. Sometimes you have to go more life. Sometimes you have to go more business. Talk about this, how your life's changed with your service business.
I mean, I think for me, when I had the business before, so I had a very successful recruiting business. I've been in recruiting, for 20 plus years. So I had a very, very successful recruiting business that made a lot of money, but it was very stressful. And it caused so many issues in my personal life, like with my marriage, with my family, that type of thing. So this business, I created it the way I want to create it. Yeah, there are seasons that are very busy with my business, but because of the flexibility of how the model is, and because I have this more concierge sort of service, I'm able to really set my schedule that feels good to me for the most part. I mean, a lot of times I work on the weekends, a few hours here and there, but I still always have time to pick up my daughter from school. I always have time to take her to school in the mornings. I always have time to, those little things, like those little things are so important. Or going for a walk. My husband and I both work from home. So like having time to have a coffee together and going for a walk with our dogs, like these are not negotiables for me, right? Like I want my business, my service-based business, which I'm serving, to also be something that supports me in my personal life as well, and vice versa.
So well said, because it's a challenge. So people listening go, "Oh, this is great." Suman, did I say it wrong again?
Yeah.
Suman.
Suman.
Suman. Audience, I'm learning as we go. You're not gonna forget her name, Suman.
No.
What? So somebody's listening, going, "Oh, Suman, you great. This is fantastic. What tips can you give them? I'm struggling with this. How could you help them?"
I mean, I think a lot of it is boundaries. So I think for me, like I'm a very energy based person. I believe everything is based in energy, right? So I believe that all of us only have so much energy that we have. And when we're holding on to a lot of people's responsibilities and we're holding on to things that don't serve us, that our energy gets depleted, right? So it's a lot of it for me. It's I make very conscious, like I work out 3-4 times a week. I eat very healthy. I don't drink alcohol. These are like certain things. And I'm not saying that that's the end all be all of all things. I meditate. I do somatic, body somatic practices. I do a lot of things on the front end that create a lot of the ability to not to have boundaries around other people. I also don't say yes to things that I don't want to do. I have no problem having authentic, real conversations with people in my life. I have learned that by holding that stuff in, it actually is what keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
So by me releasing all that, like all those fears we have about emotions and all these things, like releasing it by taking care of myself, by taking care of my physical body and my spiritual body and my emotional body, all those things just created this. I mean, it wasn't like I consciously like said, but this is what I've created based on all of those other steps I took. Does that, I don't know if that like aligns.
It makes a lot of sense. And I'll summarize what I'm hearing, which is fantastic. Don't let your life or your business control you. Keep it, you're in control of it. Don't let it control you.
Oh,
Like, oh, I've got to work late till midnight and I'm
no.
missing my kid's soccer game. Is it really important to work late? Kind
Right.
of balance that out, right?
Right. And you have to have like strong, and also I think a lot of it is you also have to have boundaries of things that you're take responsibility for as a person. Like if I say to a client, hey, I'm not gonna be able to get this done until Sunday and I'm gonna have this to you Sunday evening, I'm going to have it to them at Sunday evening. Like I'm gonna follow through with my commitment. So I think this is a very important tip. The only way we can build confidence and self-confidence and trust in ourselves is by doing that, by keeping ourselves accountable. And a lot of times people go out externally and try to find that confidence through other people, through relationships, through stuff or whatever it might be, or their success at their business or their degrees, or it doesn't matter. But that
Right.
doesn't matter. None of those things will, those are just transparent. I mean, they're not going to keep, right? The only way to have sustainability and confidence is by keeping your commitments to yourself.
Talk in action. You just summarize that.
Just do
You
it.
talk and you got to do the action. And that's a great tip, not only for business, but for your life. You tell your
Yeah.
friend you're going to show up for dinner. You're going to be there. If you're not, you're going to call. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a
Me,
big non-fan.
it's an important piece too, because
Yeah.
if you are someone, and I know for myself, like, when I was in business before and it was very stressful, I would bring like my family life, I'd bring that into my personal life, right? But I have a hard boundary now. Like whatever goes on in my family life, even if my daughter and I have a little skirmish in the morning or my husband and I have a thing, that stops. I don't bring that in, right? Like I made that choice. And that's a choice that as employees as well, like bringing your personal stuff in. If you are dealing with something personal in your life, which we all have personal life things, right? Then take care of it in that personal place. Or and also have the conversations with your managers, but you also need to be able to not take all that with you. And if you are taking that with you, you're very reactive at work, you're very irritated at work, you're very stressed out at work. Everyone thinks it's the job. Is it the job or is it like all the build up to it from that place?
That's where the mentor comes in. We'll circle right back. Having that mentor going,
Yeah.
I have this challenge. I have this. How have you dealt with it? That's great.
That's it.
So you mentioned you started a company flourishing, making a ton of money. You walked away from the money and you started.
My biz, well, like anything else, we can only hold what we can hold
Yeah.
space wise, right? So in the case of that business, um, I just didn't have the ability to hold it. It almost became like a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're making all this money and then you're worried you're going to stop making money and then you're worried what's going to happen if you don't make money. Then you start making kind of, I don't want to say unethical decisions, but you maybe don't make the best decisions. You make emotional based decisions, right? And then you're sort of in this hustle place. We've all been there, there's no shame to this. And then poof, before then it's gone, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. It just happened like within a few months. It was like here I was, and then poof. And
Money's
that's
that.
okay.
Yeah, it is. And money's not that important to you. It's important for everybody. We need it. So do you have any regrets moving into this value-based recruiting business?
I really don't. I mean, I don't. I mean, I think we learn so much from our past experiences if we can see them as like opportunities. So for me, like what happened in my last business and seeing what worked and what didn't and the way that it was structured and this business, it's completely different. It's just so different because the last business I just jumped in it. I didn't have any structure. I didn't have any processes. I didn't have,
Yeah.
you have to have both. You have to have that structure piece, right? Because you can't sustain a business without it. And you have to be
He-
constantly changing that. You have to be growing that. You have to be
yeah.
advancing that. So
Yeah.
at this time around, I'm very different. I'm very like I'm putting processes. I'm not rushing the process. I don't. It's not about like, oh, am I going to hit that $10 million mark or $5 million mark? It's okay. It's like when I get on the call with it, like I had a client call me this week or a candidate call me this week, and she was just like, she had interviewed and she's like, oh my God, I love this job. I have been looking for a job for a year. I've gone on so many job interviews and I haven't liked any of the companies. She like literally left her other job because she wanted to find the right job. And she's like, and this job is exactly what I wanted. I loved everything. And then the client called me and they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And she was able to add even more value to them than what they even knew they needed. And I think for me, that's like serves me. I mean, that for me, like that is like the best
Yeah.
thing.
You're like a dream weaver for
Uh-huh.
jobs, a dream weaver. You build dreams for people.
I do.
That's powerful. I like that.
What matters? I mean, you're in your professional life so much,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're around certain, an environment affects everything. Like I talk to so many times. What happens is a business owner calls me, and they're a small business. I work with a lot of smaller businesses. I love smaller businesses because we're so concierge based. We're so hand holding through the whole process, and we handle everything. So it's like such a great relationship you build. But he told me, he's like, I called you because I heard one of your podcasts and I was like mowing my lawn. And he said, I heard one of your podcasts, and I was like, I'm the guy, I'm the guy who stressed out at night, and how am I gonna find the right people? What am I gonna do here? And I'm going
Yeah.
through how am I gonna go through all these resumes and interview all these people and qualify people and do my other job? And I was like, he was like, I'm him. And I'm stressed out at home, I'm taking it home. It's like it just because here's what else also happens when we're stressed out, it and we're in an environment at work where it's not a good environment, or we're not feeling like it's a good environment, it's a good company, or whatever the situation might be, or we're not being challenged, because if there's no growth, everything has to grow or it dies, right?
Right.
So
Right.
um so the thing is, it carries over in your physical life because maybe you're not exercising, you're not eating better. Maybe you're because we all do. We emotionally eat when we're stressed out, or maybe you're
Yeah.
drinking more, maybe you're doing whatever it might be. But that is like a correlation of both.
I really like that. And what you're saying and what I want to ask you is the employees are your foundation to your company. They build that the bottom so you can grow, right? Talk
Oh,
about that.
I mean, the thing is, I always like, I think it's so funny, and I've talked about this in so many podcasts, and I've talked about this with clients. I think it's funny because hiring is the the pink elephant in the room, right? It's one of those things nobody wants responsibility for. Like nobody. Like I have so many people that I would hate your job. Like I would absolutely hate doing this job, right? But it's the most important thing for the job. Like it is your company. You have to have the right people on your bus. You have to have the right people that are in alignment with what your vision is and are going to grow with your company. But people don't want to take accountability for the hiring fees, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's so interesting about it is your employees are the backbone. But people will, what ends up usually happening is if you don't have HR support, you don't have external recruiters, you're getting referrals, or you're just have a group of candidates, maybe you threw a job post up there and you're sorting through a group of people that might fit, and you're picking the best out of the might fit. No, like we're providing you the best, like great candidates, and you get to pick out of one out of a really good match that would align with your culture as well. That's important as well.
Extremely important. And it's interesting you say that because I talked to a guy who owns a laundromat last week. And a guy walked in and said, I'm looking for a job. He goes, can you work with laundry, machines? He goes, yeah, you're hired. I'm like, oh, I mean, that talk about throwing spaghetti on the wall, hope it sticks. Maybe a little different because the laundromat's not as big, but
Yeah,
still,
but it's the same idea,
is
right?
it okay?
So it's like, oh, my cousin's friend knows a little bit. We're gonna bring them in, and I'm like, okay, But the thing is that it's not like there's anything bad with that person, but like it hasn't been properly vetted. Like when we do searches and when we're sourcing candidates, we're vetting them pretty deeply. Like we're not just like what their skills are. Like we're
Right.
like, okay, tell me about who you are as a person.
Right. Right.
And then also we're being really honest with who the company is. Like, hey,
Right.
this is a small business. Like, if you don't like to wear a lot of different hats, if you don't like, if you're whatever the situation might be, then this is not the right match.
No.
There's just complete honesty to it.
Yeah, I like that because a wrong hire could hurt a company pretty bad, right? And how could it?
I mean, I read statistically, like, and I don't know how big of a company that was based on, but I read that if you use an external recruiter as well, but I heard a bad hire can cost you $100,000 in time and money and training and everything else.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Yeah, I
But
forget because you can.
the other side of
Yeah.
it is, you want to keep your people at your company engaged. And if you have an opening for a job and you need to get this job filled and your people are doing the job of like 3 people, well, guess what's going to happen? They're just going to get burned out too. And they're going to start looking for a job. Because you know how many times I talk to candidates and I'm like, why are you looking? Well, my company won't hire people and I'm really burned out and I'm stressed out. I'm doing the job, but I'm not getting paid any more money. I'm not having any time. And it always comes down to the pain is always the family. I don't get to go to my son's soccer games. I'm not having able to get to do this. It's really about that. It's always about that. And I say, okay. And then they're looking, but that's what ends up happening.
So well said. Well, we've run out of time here. One quick, we got a little bit, one more minute. I want one more question to ask. Give me a failure because we've all failed. You said it earlier on the show. We have obstacles, we fail. You got a failure story you could tell us and how you recovered from it?
I mean, I have a lot of failure stories, but let me just go ahead and tell a big one probably. So I guess with my last company, a pretty big failure would be, I had worked with I had a kind of a partner or a person I was working with, right? And she was having some like kind of some issues and stuff, but I just didn't want to be the mean guy. Like I knew that it wasn't work. I knew that it wasn't aligning right. Like I knew something was going on with the candidates. There was some there was something going on, but I really didn't want to go into like, the whole thing. So I didn't want to be a mean guy to the situation. So I just kept it on until it really ended up becoming a really big problem. And it ended up being something where my clients were really upset. And it was like, it really hurt my reputation, to be honest with you. And I think that's a very important piece. Like you can be compassionate, you can be kind, you can be all the things, but you need to also set boundaries on what your standards are for yourself in your life.
I love it. That's a great story. And I love that you said multiple failures because everybody does. But look, you're successful. We all
Aww.
have failures. You're doing well. Suman, I said it right. Suman, it took me 23 minutes to do that, but I loved you on the show. You were fantastic. You do have a lot of energy. Listeners, reach out. You'll be able to reach out to her in the show notes. Find her probably in LinkedIn, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. My website's cherrytalentgroup.com. It's pretty easy to find me. Suman Cherries. I'm all over the place.
And give her a call like the guy that was doing his lawn. If you're doing your lawn, give her a call. Thank you again. This is Doing Business with the Servant's Heart. We'll see you on the next show. This is a recap of the Suman Cherry episode. What a powerful servant and somebody with a ton of energy. But she's learned that serving in business will also spill over to your personal life. Isn't that great? The more value you give, the better your life's better. Well, that's what happens on this podcast. And she says some great stories. She really is a powerful woman, somebody that you really want to connect with and learn more about. I love servant leaders like Suman who are on the show because we learn so much. See you on the next episode. Look forward to it. You all have a great day.